Hello everyone, I'm George Nardone. I'm the president and CEO of Nardone and Company, and I've been working in the insurance claims industry for 50 years now. Well, one of the things I think that separates us, not necessarily separates us, but kind of aligns us with the organization Flying Adjusters is the fact that I've been working for many insurance companies from all over the world on large commercial claims, but also how I came into the industry was after the Air Force and Pan Am, I met a guy who I was still flying in general aviation world as well, because I started flying at 15 years old. And the bottom line is he was getting flight lessons. He started flying there at Beverly Airport in Massachusetts, where I originally am from. And his flight instructor got a job flying for another company, and the owner of the beach facility that I managed, I said, "Hey George, can you take on this guy?" So I took him on as a student, taught him how to fly, sold him an airplane, and wound up in the salvage business for the insurance industry. Well, I'll try and describe this in the right way. The industry has changed so much over the years. When I started back in 1972, the adjusters would actually go out on any kind of a claim, and they'd be wearing a suit or a top coat and a hat, carrying a briefcase. They didn't have rubber boots on. They come into a smoky, dirty building with water, and they had a lot of authority. Most of the power at that time was with the independent insurance adjusters. GAB was the training ground for many of the insurance industry guys that then moved on into the insurance carriers. But all the independent insurance companies were loaded with a big range of adjusters that really knew their stuff. Now, most of them were in their 50s and 60s. So they became my mentors. So my education came from a framework of guys that had just had mountains of experience. I used to call them the blue water adjusters. Like a blue water sailor, really familiar with what's going on. And the insurance carrier, if they were independents, the insurance carriers took really good care of them, gave them a lot of authority. They had check writing authority, and things moved along very quickly. And the big thing I think that made us successful in the salvage end, because we're described as salvors, appraisers, and consultants, even though I was heavily involved with the aviation part right from the beginning of my career, was that they had the authority to make decisions right away without having to make a whole lot of phone calls. The culprit is Mr. Skip Higley. I was a member of the National Aircraft Appraisers Association, which is no longer in business. We had 250 members. Skip was also a member back then, and I was very close with a gentleman by the name of Bill Hall, who was an OFA member out of Chicago. And Bill always wanted me to come to these meetings, even though I wasn't an insurance adjuster. I understood that aspect, but we've never crossed that line. We had a scope of work that we dealt with salvage, appraisal, and consulting end of things. The big commercial claims, or even if it was an aviation end, that was still our role. Skip came up to me at an NAAA meeting years ago and said, "George, I think you'd be a great fit for our organization." I said, "Well, Skip, I'm not an adjuster." He says, "Well, you've been at this a lot longer than some of our members." And I was really proud to be associated with him, and I went to Texas and got my license. So I am now a licensed independent adjuster as well as a salvage guy for the insurance industry. OFA, yes, we've worked on a number of claims. We recently had one that was very challenging. A very well organized, very well funded, very well trained seaplane company up in the New York area was doing flights in and out of the New York harbor. And that particular day, the folks that were on the loading dock or on the dock where the airplanes were eventually tied up wasn't available. And a fairly good sized seaplane came in there with passengers on board. And the pilots were very skilled, had a lot of flight time. As they approached the dock, they shut the engine down, which was a smart move. Unfortunately, one of the ferry boats went flying by and created a lot of waves, which beat up the airplane pretty badly. It was fun to work with those people because they really knew what they were doing. They really maintained their airplanes. We got the airplane fixed and back in business. And since then, even though they're based in New York, they opened up an operation in the Washington D.C. area, so you can get a flight now on a seaplane from there up to Boston, actually, all the way up to Boston, and have a lobster.
It's a happy ending.
Yep. Oh yeah. Absolutely. I just turned 77 on October the 3rd, and I've been in aviation since I was 15 years old. Flew in the military, Vietnam and C-130s as a flight engineer, and then Pan Am on 707s. And I've been in corporate aviation most of my life. So I've been around airplanes, just been my love. I own a Barron's. I'm still flying even at my age. I maintain a lot of proficiency. I managed a fleet of airplanes for a big charter operator. I was a FAA check airman, training officer. These guys in this organization have a tremendous amount of skill. Some from an insurance adjustment side, I have a ton of experience with big commercial mercantile claims. One of which was $160 million. It was a case in Connecticut, at the BF Goodrich plant in Shelton, Connecticut, where Chuck Moeller ran the plant. It was called a sponge rubber plant. And they had a religious zealot that was working with Mr. Moeller, and he told me he needed to blow up his plant. And that's a pretty famous case up in Connecticut. And I was involved with that for about 6 months, trying to put all that back together again. Well, that kind of experience to do that work is also amongst the members here at the OFA. They're all a bunch of gentlemen, airline pilot captains that are retired, maintenance guys, insurance adjusters, and it's an organization that is the best of the best. I belong to a couple of other organizations as well. I'm on the board of directors of the PAO, which most of the guys are familiar with, and in the OFA, as well as still running my company, 2 other companies, and being on the board of directors. I stay pretty busy. But if you want to work with the best and learn things that you really need to learn, this is the place to do it. Well, the gentleman I taught how to fly and sold him his airplane, and he brought me into the company because he was still a student, and I got involved with these folks. I had a chance to go back to United Airlines, had a chance to go back to American. I decided to stay in general aviation. But what attracted me to the business the most, other than my love and respect for the guy that I worked with for many years at George M. Ruddy, for 20 years, actually. That's why I have 50 years of experience, because my company just celebrated our 30th anniversary. Was the skill set of these individuals, and the men were older guys that had a tremendous amount of experience. They had the same belief system that I had. As a veteran, I appreciated their professionalism, and that's one of the reasons why I decided to incorporate that into my working life and stay within the world of insurance as well. But continue to fly and fly with students and manage flight departments and manage a fleet of airplanes. And so I've had the best of both worlds. I've had a lot of friends, learned a lot from those gentlemen, and sadly today the mentorship is not there as I would hope it would be. And hopefully it'll improve as time goes on.